of Government, and we'll be bringing you the highlights that came out of the cabinet meeting that was held on the 10th of Wednesday, 2019, in Danes in Cape Town. My name is Karabo Lance, and I'll be with you for the next coming, say, 15 minutes or so. And we're joined by the Acting Director General of the Government Communication and Information System, GCIS. That's Ms. Phumla Williams, who's going to be taking us through some of those highlights. DGs, thank you so much for your time and welcome.
Good afternoon, Karabo.
I think let's start with a critical issue that's been spoken about in the media, and I think everybody's got their ears open with regards to this and wanting to find out what's the way forward. The National Health Insurance Bill that the Cabinet has approved to be tabled in Parliament. To take us through that.
Thank you very much, Karabo, and I'm hoping that as I speak now, the Minister of Health has already held a media briefing to this effect to unpack it. But just to say that the Cabinet has approved this bill, and I would like to remind the viewers that this is a bill that has long been in the making. You'll remember that sometime last year, the Cabinet had approved that it must be released to go out for public consultation, and that consultation did take place between June and September last year. So what has been approved now to take to the Parliament is a product of inputs that came from that consultation process that happened over a 90 days period. But I think what we should say is that the tabling of this bill to Parliament is also going to enable another consultation process from the parliamentary forum and consultation with the public. So at the end of the day, this bill is going to be the bill that begins to deal with the transformational issues that this country is trying to grapple with, the inequalities that this country is grappling with, and in particular in the health sector, it is beginning to say we cannot 25 years into our democracy, not deal with the inequalities of the quality of health services that is provided to South Africans. So once this bill is passed into law, it is going to enable government to begin to tackle. And I think we should say that if it is passed, it's not a bill that you would then say it will be implemented almost immediately. There's a whole implementation process which will enable a whole phasing in process, because there are quite a number of other bills that have an impact in what we would be trying to do. So it's a long way, but I think we're hoping that we're getting closer to getting to the nitty-gritties of how we narrow the gap of inequalities in the health services that we provide to South Africans.
Wonderful. I think on Wednesday we saw, on the very day where Cabinet met that evening, we saw Bafana flying the South African flag, though they did not make it, but I think they've done absolutely amazing. But now, something that comes to my mind with regards to flying the South African flag is the president as well, who's doing that on a global scale. Tell us about that.
Yes, I think if one is to just take a step back in saying this sixth administration has made a commitment to say economic transformation is at the center of what this government will be trying to do. And one of those things is to seek to get more investors into the country. So whenever the president goes and participates in this global, which in this particular instance, Cabinet reflected on the G20 summit, what would like to flag out from there is the round table of engagements that the president held together with the team that she was with in engaging potential investors. Because what we try and do whenever we go to these forums is to say jobs, 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 investment, investment, investment. So whenever the president is out of the country, he tries and invest in engaging with potential investors in saying, come and do business in South Africa, because we believe in so doing, it is going to enable us to grow our economy, but also it is going to assist us to tackle the issue of unemployment. So I think the cabinet really welcomed that that engagement, that round table with the Japanese potential investors.
And closer to home, we saw the president visiting Lesotho as well.
Yes, I think you will recall, even when the president was still the deputy president, we have as a country seen Lesotho as part of our neighboring country, that we at all times have to engage in strengthening these relations and also in assisting them to deal with some of their issues. And the president is also part of SADC as a representative of representing the issues of Lesotho. So when they are going, he went there, it was to strengthen the relations. But also what was good is that all the parties in Lesotho did commit and sign an agreement, which one of them was going to be leading into the opening of parliament to give effect to some of the agreements. So the cabinet really welcomed some of the interventions that are done by the president in assisting the Lesotho in building the relations, but also in creating the stability in Lesotho.
All right. And for those of you who want to go and view the country's report to the UN, once it has been submitted, we're going to make that available on the UN website. It's going to be www.un.org/en/. Let me say that website again, just in case you want to go and visit it. It's www.un.org/en/, and you can go and check it out there. Still on the issue of global representation, Digital Economy Summit. Tell us about that.
You know, one of the things that is worth also reflecting, when the cabinet, or rather when the president was announcing his new cabinet, the issue of the 4IR was at the uppermost. And you will remember that we now have a Department of Communication and Digital technology, because I think there is that acknowledgement that we need to move with the times. We need to prepare the country for the 4IR, and that's why the cabinet has welcomed this summit, because it is a summit of all the global players in the space. It afforded us to engage and to listen, to hear some of the good stories from some of the players in this environment, because as a country we're trying to prepare South Africa to be ready. So this global, this dialogue that was in the country is also going to be assisting us in working towards that.
We've seen temperatures dropping throughout the country. In fact, there's been a couple of cold fronts that have hit the country. But something that's going to warm you up is a positive announcement that came out of Eskom. Do you want to take us up to speed with that, DG?
Yes, I think anything that is positive we want to welcome, because I think this past week the cabinet was appreciating the bringing into the national grid the Medupi Unit 3, because I think as a country we're battling to get the Eskom to be where it's supposed to be, because I think energy is key. Yeah. In growing our economy, in making sure that the investors that come into our country, there's one element that they all would be interested in is energy, water and communication. So when we see some of the progress moving forward, I think the cabinet was welcoming it. But I think what we are saying is that yes, we welcome the Unit 3 coming onto the stream, but also we still want to caution South Africans to say we are not yet there. Yeah. We still have to do our bit in making sure that we use energy in a manner that conserves it, that enables us to have energy at all times. So I think the cabinet still wants to make that appeal that as South Africans, yes, we're getting there. We'll continue supporting Eskom in making sure that it passes through its own challenges of finances, but also South Africans must do their part and conserve energy so that we still are able to have less and less of load sheddings, because we manage the energy that we have.
Right. So here's a way that you can play your part in terms of saving electricity in our country. Between the hours 1700, which is 5 p.m., to 2100, which is 9 o'clock in the evening, just make sure that those elements or those equipments that you're not using in your house, turn them off. And that way you can have you can help us save electricity in the country. Let's talk a little bit more about what the Gauteng motorists are eagerly watching, and that's the e-tolls.
Yes, I think the Gauteng freeway tolling is a matter that has been in our space for a very, very long time. And I think the cabinet has appreciated the intervention that the president has made. The president has appointed the Minister of Transport, the Premier of Gauteng, and the Minister of Finance to say, go and look at this matter, and with the intention of coming with a lasting solution. They have been mandated to look into what is possible. How can we then move as a united front in terms of national and the province in tackling this issue? They have been given up till the end of August, and we trust that when they come back to cabinet, we will be able to announce to South Africans what is the final product that will be announced by the executive. So we will be giving them the space, and we hopefully in the next 6 to 8 weeks, we will be able to respond on that.
It's quite a number of things really that are positive that are coming out. But one thing that's of concern, and this is what the Auditor General spoke about during his delivery of the report, issues that's got to do with municipalities that are not doing so well.
Yes, Karabo, you will remember that the Auditor General released this report when the cabinet was in session, so they didn't manage to engage with it. But this last cabinet, I think the cabinet did reflect on it. And I think what is of concern to cabinet is the fact that there are municipalities that are consistently not improving in terms of their audit outcome. However, what they then wanted to assure South Africans is that the fact that we have this new audit amendment bill, which is an amendment bill which was supported by the executive and it was supported by Parliament, and that's why it was passed last year, it is going to begin to give the Auditor General teeth. Because one of the frustrations from just somebody who's looking from outside is that why aren't we doing something about it? Now this amendment, this act is going to give the Auditor General teeth, that you will be found wanting with unauthorized expenditure that has been in your books year in and year out and increasing. The Auditor General will have the powers of giving you ultimatum to say you deal with it, and if you don't deal with it, we take it to the other level. And the cabinet is supporting that initiative because they believe any wrongdoing that is left unattended cannot be acceptable to society. So the cabinet has endorsed and the measures that have been going to be put in place by this act. But the second element, the cabinet is aware that there's a lot of work that the Minister of COGTA is doing together with the provincial leadership to provide those municipalities that need support. The Back to Basic implementation program is designed to provide that capacity that is required, to provide that mentoring that is required, and to provide that support that some of the poor municipalities that genuinely need to be capacitated. The national government is committing to say we will be guided by the Minister of COGTA, Minister of National Treasury, to support those municipalities that really want to move their departments to the acceptable levels of compliance in terms of government. So the cabinet at both levels is saying, yes, we will support the mentoring, but at the same time, we will support the interventions by the Auditor General, which gives them the powers to take wrongdoing to other levels.
Right, if you've just joined us, welcome to it. We're very glad to have you with us. We're just unpacking some of the outcomes that came from the cabinet meeting that was held this past Wednesday. My name is Karabo Lance, and together with the Director General of the Government Communication and Information System, Ms. Phumla Williams, we're going to be doing that for the next coming couple of minutes, right? We are here at the Ronnie Mamwepa Media Center, which was quite an exciting day actually earlier today because we had the unveiling of this property. Now, talking about that, about property, we'll take care of this one. But the question stands, will you take care of the property that government has given you as a community? It leads me to my next question, which is Cabinet talked about this as well, the destruction of property. We saw that happening a week or so ago in Katlehong. Earlier this morning, there were reports in the Northwest as well, another destruction of property. What did Cabinet say about that?
Karabo, the cabinet reflected, particularly the most recent when the cabinet was in session, was the Katlehong school, primary school. And the view of cabinet is that no amount of anger can justify the public destroying public property. This specific one, it's a property that is meant to invest in a young person who's going to be the future of this country. We're destroying that. It's a school that, from what we have been informed, has been recently built, and it's new and it's expensive, and now it's come to nothing. And the cabinet is saying, if you are a community, you have to work with the law enforcement agencies. If you know somebody who has been involved in this, we have to begin to take responsibility and make sure that the perpetrators are found and they are arrested, because it is a crime. Because the resources, all of us appreciating that they are limited. And if they are limited and then somebody is unhappy by whatever thing, as we believe they were unhappy about electricity or whatever, it just doesn't bring the electricity back. And that's the point they are making, is that there are channels that you can use to deal with the unhappiness that you have. And remember, Karabo, most of these municipalities or these communities, they've got ward councillors that they elected themselves, that they can take up issues that they are unhappy about through the people that they've elected. So it doesn't really take the problem away by destroying another resource that is already there. So that's what the message of government is making, is that let us look after our properties, because these are the properties that are meant to better the lives of those communities.
Actually, that's criminality, and that's anarchy, really. And somebody who's raised his hand up to say, look, I will take a step and I will really champion this combating of crime is Minister Begitele, who's announced actually that he'll be deploying some of the SANDF members to go and curb this whole thing that we're seeing in the Western Cape, more especially gangsterism and crime. Tell us about that.
Yes, I think there was also a reflection, because I think there's an unfortunate situation that is unfolding in the Western Cape, which is getting to unacceptable levels. The killing of the past week in the Western Cape, Philippi, which is, it tackles even the most vulnerable, the women who have been, and I think the cabinet was briefed on what is it that is being done by the South African police, but I think by now we know that they have also seek permission from the commander-in-chief to deploy the soldiers. All of that is an attempt to try and stabilize that environment, because it is getting to be unacceptable. South Africans deserve better. They deserve to live in their communities in a safe environment, and the government has endorsed the approach that the Minister of Police is taking, and also the Defence Force that is going to be deployed to assist the police in stabilizing that area.
We're hearing reports about the African swine fever. Tell us about that one.
The cabinet also appreciated the speedy response by the relevant department, because I think this disease can cause quite a lot of devastation in the pigs, but I think it was picked up early and it was contained. But what I think the cabinet was saying is that it still makes a call that all the farmers must remain vigilant. We've contained it in all the provinces that were identified, but we still call on the farmers to be vigilant of the disease and make sure that it doesn't really creep in and unnoticed, and then it remains to be a challenge again.
DG, finally, some of the fillers. What is it that we can look forward to in the next couple of weeks?
The next coming week, I think it's the 23rd, that the president is going to be opening a conference on the 25 years review. I think it's a conference that all of us should be keen to know, because you will appreciate that we are in 25 years of our democracy. There are various good things that we have done as a country, but there are various things that are still outstanding. I think we still talk about unemployment. We still talk about inequalities that we're battling with. We still talk about poverty. So this conference is going to be comprising of academics, and also government is also going to have a representation, but also just general members of the public that would have been invited. It's going to be a discussion that begins to tackle what needs to be done, what needs to be fixed, what needs to be done away with, because at times we get so married in some of the policies that we have. And I think with the deliberation in these conferences, they allow us to reflect, to say, yes, we adopted this policy in 1994, but there's not much that has been achieved. Shouldn't we maybe consider something else? But I think it's a conference that the president will open, collaboration with the University of Johannesburg, with Mapungubwe, and also the presidency, and it will provide us with a lot of something to take with as government in going forward.
It is happening on the 23rd of July, which is this next coming Tuesday, the 23rd of July, and it's called the 25 Years of Democracy, the next 25 years. It's a conference that I would like to urge you to be part of. DJ, thank you so much for your time, and hope to see you soon.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Karabo.
Right, from myself, Karabo Lance, we're coming to you, as I said earlier on, from our premises here at the Rodi Mamwepa Media Center. Have a good one for the rest of the day, and take care.